We are now going to kick off this session with the host of the podcast, Digging Up Ancient Aliens, with their talk, Ancient Apocalypse of Knowledge. Please welcome to the stage, Fredrik Trusohamn.
Hello everybody. How many in here have watched the documentary, pseudo-documentary Ancient Apocalypse over on Netflix? Well, it's a handful, but most of you seem to have done the far more superior choice of not watching it. So what is Ancient Apocalypse? Well, it is a pseudo-documentary hosted by Graham Hancock, a journalist who claimed that the white Atlanteans went around the globe teaching those primitive ancestors of humans, civilization, culture, and how to build things. And who is this Graham Hancock? Well, he is a journalist who early in his career realized that being, silence is great for promotion. So he have since then claimed that he is silenced by everybody, especially those pesky archaeologists in their ivory towers. And he is apparently archaeologist enemy number one. But I did a quick survey in my archaeology group, and we decided that number one enemy of archaeologists is other archaeologists, and then we fought about it. We don't have time to really go into detail of Graham Hancock's ideas, but he based those solely or mostly on theosophy writers like Helena Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner, and mixing this with the ideas of American politicians, Ignatius Donnelly's theories about he was a politician who was Atlantis believer and a Shakespeare denier. And he claimed that those pesky brown people can't really build these amazing things, so there must have been a previous civilization that taught them to do this or build these ideas. And Hancock takes these ideas and then just runs away with it. So Hancock based his ideas on esoteric ideas, and a common mistake among critics is that they focus on science. But as archaeologist Dr. Jeb Card says, that Hancock is maybe most best described as a mythographer in a post-science age. And Hancock promotes these Atlanteans who have superpowers and are basically successors to elves and mythical beings. And Graham Hancock searched for esoteric sacred knowledge from shamanic journey fueled by psychedelic drugs like ayahuasca, and building on this a new myth built on perennial wisdom. And from this starting point, he then go out and cherry pick historical sites and archaeological ideas that kind of fits with his esoteric charter myth. So criticizing Hancock solely from an archaeological perspective is a bit the wrong way to go about this, since he based much of his ideas on, Blavatsky and the sleeping prophet Edgar cases and other similar ideas. So what's the harm then? Why not let Graham Hancock just run around, believe in Atlantis, drink ayahuasca and puke as much as he wants? Well, his ideas have real-world consequences, and it includes everything from destruction of sites, state funding pseudoscience, threats, and refusal to give indigenous people different land rights, for example. And one example he used in his pseudo-documentary is the site Gunung Padang in Indonesia. And most scholars, mainstream archaeologists as we're called, agree that this is a Punden Berdak, a sort of step temple built on top of a volcano. But geologists Danny Hillman and Ali Akbar and Hancock claim that this is a 20,000-year-old pyramid in Indonesia. And they base this on a very problematic C14 sample. And we don't really know what they have dated within this core sample. They just took something organic and dated that and then claimed this is the start date for the construction of the pyramid. And this research, or whatever we should call it, was state funded. So they got money from the Indonesian government. The previous government wanted a new national monument to promote their nationalistic ideas. So they adopted the project Honor Red and White due to the flag. And they had flag rising salutes and everything like that. And they got, as a starting funding, the equal amount as many archaeological departments in the country for a whole year for initial funding. And the excavation seems to have been done quite poorly. They lack methodology, oversight, publication. They haven't publicized anything from the excavation yet. And up towards 500 people worked on the site, most of them conscripted soldiers. So we have no idea how much damage have been done on this site. And we see a similar story in Bosnia, where Osman Osmanovic claimed that in the city of Visoko, there is a pyramid, which is a hill, if you look at it. But he got funding from the state because then again they wanted a new national monument to promote. And this is while the museum in Sarajevo is still struggling to get funding to repair damage from the Bosnian War. They found this excavation of a hillside. And there's also threats that come in both of these instances towards critics, towards the projects, towards archaeologists, historians. And one of Bosnia's leading archaeologists, Kujundjic Vijajic, who was quite open in her critique, was threatened in public, for example, on the trolleys. And we see this even in YouTube comments and a weaponization of sites like ratemyprofessor.com. And even Graham Hancock doxed one of the people who denied him a multi-day filming permit for his documentary on Twitter. So there's a lot of things going on here. And then we have the pseudo-history that influence political decisions, especially affecting indigenous people. And a few of these decisions are based not necessarily on Hancock's ideas, but inspiration for Hancock, Thor Heyerdahl, Norwegian national hero, maybe most famous for his sail across the Pacific on a raft. But he also promoted the idea that in South America there was a white culture bearer race who led the foundation for all the sites like Pumapunku and the Inca masonry, and teach these savages these ideas, but then were forced out by the Inca, and then they moved to Easter Island, where they continued their site until they again got destroyed. But this is based a lot on these ideas that there are white gods in South America, an idea that originates with Spanish conquistador in the 1500s. So this scientific racism has survived until our days, a bit due to Graham Hancock's work, but these ideas from Heyerdahl was foundation in, for example, Peru, where previous President Bustamante used these ideas of white culture bearers being the original indigenous people of South America to turn down land claims from the Quechua people, for example. And we see similar countries like Brazil, Bolivia, and Paraguay also adopted these arguments for the same reasons. So the harm in these ideas are quite, well, visible if you start to look. And I think while it's nice to make fun of these silly ideas, we need to understand them. They are not scientific ideas. These are esoteric ideas with real-world consequences, both towards people, towards site, and, well, we could really do a lot better things with the funding that's gone into, well, excavating a Bosnian hillside, for example. And on that, I say thank you, and if you want to have any sources or further reading suggestions, there's a link there that you can follow if you want. And yeah, that's it for me.
You were 40 seconds away from getting the horn there. I'm
Yeah.
very disappointed.
Well, this is
Getting
based
itchy.
on this was based on like 5 hours research. So
Okay, so our first question, who is from Anonymous, who asks, who is funding this implausible research?
state, the government, Indonesia and Bosnia, but we don't really know where they get some of those funds. If it's EU funds that should go to world sites, for example, they are very, well, haven't really disclosed too much.
Okay. Our next question comes from Igor, who asks, is there a big backlash against those kinds of people, or are we still in the age of Ancient Aliens documentaries being in the mainstream?
Well, Ancient Aliens is on season 18. Is that your answer?
Our next question is from Nick, and he asks, why do you think Hancock managed to get the notoriety he did instead of being dismissed as the stoned guy at the college party?
Good at promotion, and he has this Indiana Jones style that he has adopted. And he, compared to the other Ancient Alien writers, for example, Hancock is actually readable, which of course help promote this idea, and he have made good contacts, but yeah, he's selling himself really good, and that's helped a lot in these circumstances.
Okay. Our final question comes from Daniel, who asks, what is the reason why nationalists are so interested in this?
Because they're promoting this idea of white people being there first. So we see this especially in America and South America, where there are indigenous people who want to get right and respect, and the nationalists realize if they can get the same rights, they can't be criticized. So they want to carve out themselves a nice little niche to get the same right as the people they want to oppress, basically.
Okay, thank you very much, Fredrik.
Thank you.